look at the words of the master and talk about the healing the 10 lepers. We'll look at Luke 17:11 through 37. Talk about here the words of the master. Luke 17:11 through 37. We'll just read a little bit at a time with these here and talk about a few things here as it goes. Let's just begin with looking at 11 and 12. Luke 17:11 and 12.
All right, and it came to be, as he went to Jerusalem, that he passed through the midst of Shimron and Galilee, and as he was entering into a certain village, he was met by 10 leprous men who stood at a distance.
Okay, very good. So let's go. Let's here click on 11. We want to look at verse 11 and some of these words in there. What's that? What it says went to? What's that say to Jerusalem there? That 2:15. Yeah. Two into. They don't really give you that in that version there, because oftentimes when we look at the idea of going to Jerusalem, oftentimes it says up to. No matter where you are, kind of spatially, whether you're north, south, east, or west, a lot of times when it talks about going to Jerusalem, it say up to Jerusalem. When here, the way that it's saying it, that he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee. So if he's going through Galilee, first of all, if we look at where we are in time, he rose his friend Lazarus from the grave, and which is in Bethany. Here, put the map up. Put the map up there for us.
I really feel like that happened last week. That he was.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, that was last week right there.
It was last week. And then this happens after it. We skipped over what happened right after because Yeshua didn't speak in the next part. Okay. It just was things that happened. For those that don't know, we're going through the harmony of the Gospels, which is all of the Gospels grouped together in chronological order as they happen. And so last week we talked about the Lazarus being raised from the dead, and then the next part of the harmony of the Gospels deals with the climate as a result of what happened, which was, if we look at let's go here. Let's come back to this. Go to John 11 real quick, and for John 11 and 55, and read 55 through 57.
John 11, 55. Okay, now the Pesach of the Yehudim was near, and many went from the country of up to Jerusalem before the Pesach to set themselves apart. And so they were seeking Yeshua and spoke among one another, standing in the set apart place. What do you think? Is he not coming to the festival at all? And both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a command that if anyone knew where he was, he should disclose it in order for them to seize him.
Okay, very good. So again, this is after the resurrection of Lazarus. The people was after Yeshua more so even than they was before. They wanted to kill him because of what he did. Oh, and then if we notice in 55, we could see that it's talking about many went from the country up to Jerusalem. That's what we was looking at on the map. But what was you gonna say?
Verse 54, he was in a city called Ephraim.
Okay, he was in a city called Ephraim and remained there with his top ones. He goes up. He remained there.
He was there.
He was there in Ephraim, but we'll see where that is.
Okay.
And then 52 talks about 53. So from that day on, they plotted to kill him. Okay.
Yeshua therefore no longer went openly among the Yuhadim.
Yeah. And so all this is in the shadow of what happened in the previous chapter with raising Lazarus from the dead. And so let's go to the map. Go to the map real quick. Okay, then if you could see Judea's in the orange at the bottom.
There was that Bethany where the thing.
Bethany's where Lazarus was from, right?
Okay.
Bethany, Jerusalem's up,
Okay.
Ephraim's up, right? But then it said, what we're looking at, it said he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee.
That's all the way. That's there.
But he's on the way to Jerusalem. So it's in time. He starts in Bethany. Somehow he gets all the way back up to Galilee and then is coming back again. Because he comes through Galilee, through Samaria to come back to Jerusalem. So this is like the next thing that happened, but it's going to take some time for all of this to physically happen because he's in Bethany. Next thing you know, as he went to Jerusalem, he passes through Samaria and Galilee.
We're in Luke 11 when it says that, huh?
Well, 17.
Or Luke 17.
Yeah. But even if we look at it this way, right? Either way, this idea of going up to Jerusalem, though,
Okay.
where Jerusalem's down.
Yeah.
Like you can only be a certain amount of places in Israel to be going literally up to it. But Jerusalem, actually, when you look at Jerusalem as a place, Jerusalem is like it's on the elevation, right? The city, Jerusalem, sits an average elevation of about 2,500 feet above sea level. And so if you just think about like Pittsburgh, Mount Washington elevation is like 1,250 feet above sea level.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so Israel's almost double, right? I'm not Israel, but Jerusalem. And then like the valley around kind of the Jordan Valley there, it got places where it's actually below sea level, like Jericho. Jericho is 846 feet below sea level.
So it's going up.
So if you're going from Jerusalem, from Jericho to Jerusalem,
You're going up and
you're going up 3,400 feet because you start off below sea level and then you're getting up above it. And so when they talk about going up to Jerusalem, even though it's down, it's in the south. To get there, you got to go up
Oh, that makes sense.
because it's like it's in a mountain. It's in a hill. I should say, I don't know if it's a mountain or not. Technically.
That's a mountain. That gotta be a mountain.
I'm not Washington, a mountain, it's really a hill.
Yeah, it's really a hill. Yeah. But so they going up to Jerusalem. Okay, go back to Luke over there. And they're talking about going through these places, right? In verse 12, Luke 17, verse 12, it says that they was in this certain village. It don't say what the village is, though. They're in this certain village. It don't say what it is. It talks about them going through Samaria and Galilee. It mentions these places, but then it don't say where they're at. But it might be a leper colony, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have proper leper colonies where there was like a leper colony. But it's interesting that it don't say like what city, what village it is. Look at Leviticus. Go over to Leviticus 13. Leviticus 13 and 45 and 46. Because the lepers, they wasn't just hanging out with everybody, just where everybody was. Leviticus 13, 45 and 46.
It says, as for the leper who has the infection, his garments are torn, and his head is uncovered, and he has to cover his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. He is unclean all the days he has the affection. He is unclean. He is unclean, and he dwells alone. His dwelling place is outside the camp.
So when they was going through the wilderness, the lepers couldn't be in the camp. So they wasn't in the wilderness, they was in the land. But you would think that keeping this command would be about them not dwelling in the same areas where everybody else was dwelling. So it's interesting that it says that they entered into a certain village. We go to all these different places and they be naming the villages. This one didn't name it. And then when they get there, there's these 10 lepers all hanging out together. Like, was they just cool with each other? I guess birds of a feather flock together kind of a thing.
I didn't know if he was like on the down, like the low, like he didn't want to know. Yeah, he was like being incognito.
Who you
Yeshua,
talking about?
so we didn't say where he was at. He was.
Well, I mean, it happened already. This is John looking back, right? It happened already. He could have said, and like the statutes of limitations probably was up at this point. He could have said where they was, because Yeshua been gone at this point, right? But he still was like, he didn't say. Like, if he knew, I feel like he would have said it, or, you know, maybe it didn't have a name because it just was like a place where all lepers was at. Because it was a thing where they didn't dwell among the people. Because that's what the command said for them to be doing. They supposed to walk around and just be like, unclean, unclean, pronounce themselves if somebody was to see them or be around them. Like a leper wasn't supposed to just sneak up on you and just like and touch you. Like he had to pronounce himself.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't just going around just mingling with people. And if he was, like, he was supposed to be outside, first of all. But if he was around, if you was where he was supposed to be announcing himself, saying unclean, unclean. And so the rabbis, they talk about the fact that leprosy being this thing that's connected with evil tongue. You are evil tonguing people. Instead of talking about people, you talk about yourself. Instead of saying bad things about other people, say the bad thing that it is about you, that you a leper. Say that. And so, but here, Yeshua enters this place and he meets these lepers here, they stood at a distance, it says. They stood at a distance because they wasn't just rolling up on people. Like it was against the Torah to do that. And then what do it say in, read, let's see, 13, just verse 13.
They follow the Torah?
Who? The lepers?
Lepers. I mean,
Well-
they got this bad time. Like,
Okay, so again, when we think about where they was, it mentions, it's interesting that it mentions both Samaria and Galilee. And they had to go through this place. They was going to Jerusalem. And as they was doing that, they entered into this certain village. So it don't say where they at. They could be in Samaria. A lot of commentators say that there's probably some bordering place or like bordering Samaria and Galilee on the way to Jerusalem. But they're going to Jerusalem. And so all these people is Israel here. Samaria, they're not recognized, but they're probably Israel too. And so the Samaritans, they did their version, but it was still basically Israel though. But it was kind of like they wasn't accepted by Galilee and Judea as being Israel. And so yes, they keep the commands. And with these particular ones, up to this point, we don't know what the mixture is in terms of the 10 lepers here. We don't know what the mixture is right now. And so, okay, so read verse 13.
13. And they lifted up their voices, saying, Yeshua, Master, have compassion on us.
Oh, sorry, read down to 16.
16. And having seen them, he said to them, Go, show yourselves to the priests. And it came to be that as they were going, they were cleansed. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, returned praising Elohim with a loud voice, and he fell down upon his face at his feet, giving thanks to him. And he was a Shimeromi.
Okay, now, very interesting. First of all, when we look at 13, they, as it said, they was off, they stayed far off. Because first of all, leprosy wasn't contagious. You couldn't catch it. Leprosy, it was a thing, it was a plague that happened to you for something, but they acted like it kind of was, the way they treated it. And so you wasn't around people because you didn't want the uncleanness to get on you. Kind of is another kind of a physical / spiritual kind of a thing. Uncleanness wasn't dirt, but it was something. If you was unclean, you could cause somebody else to be unclean, but it wasn't because they got dirt on you. Right? They kind of got a status on you, which is, again, when you think about it's kind of a spiritual thing. Like if I have a particular status of cleanness, I can transfer my status, but I'm not putting dirt on you. But anyway, they stood afar off and they're calling out. It said they lifted up their voices and they're calling out to Yeshua, talk about, have mercy on us. So they're following the commands of saying, I'm unclean, but I know who you are. Help me, please. So they're keeping the commands. They're crying out. And Yeshua speaks to them according to the commands. Because if you was a leper, the only way that you could be declared clean again was the priest had to inspect you. And so he just said, go show yourself to the priest. He ain't had to go lay hands on them. He ain't had to say, pick up your bed and walk to them. Like, you clean now, forget all of this, whatever. He said, go show yourself to the priest. And then when they did it, the priest looked at them and seen that they was clean. But they went through the processes that was involved in what the Torah says. And one of them, at least one of them, was a Samaritan from Samaria. And he went to the priest too. At least one of them was.
Yeah.
But the interesting part here then that we see is when we look here, let's look at 17 through 19 here.
And Yeshua answering said, were there not 10 cleansed? But where are the 9? Was no one found to return to give praise to Elohim except this foreigner? And he said to them, rise, go your way, your belief has made you well.
Okay, now it's like a mystery unfolding. It's like Matlock up there. It's a mystery unfolding, right? I'm talking about the old Matlock, not this new.
Yeah, there's not the new one, the old one.
The old one.
Old man.
But anyway, he said it was 10 of y'all before. Only one of y'all coming back and being thankful for what has happened to you. Why you sure talking to them like that? Like, hold on, where my praise at for what I did for you? Why is he talking to him like this? There's only one of y'all that's grateful here.
I'm sorry, but in light of the events of last week politically, this makes me laugh even more. Like, you need to be thankful. Where's the thanks? I'm sorry. That was funny.
It's funny that Yeshua is talking to them like this.
Yeah.
No one but you, only one of the 10 came back. But he said he said, where's the 9? Was not one found to return to give praise to Elohim except the foreigner. Does that mean the other ones wasn't foreigners?
This foreigner.
He said, except this foreigner. None of the other ones didn't come. There was 10. Only one came back. The only one that did come back is the foreigner that came back? Is that what he said? Only one of them was a Samaritan? That's what it seems like.
Sound like it.
It could be.
I believe it.
It could be.
And so, again, when we talk about this certain city where it maybe was this leper colony, quote unquote. They didn't have literal leper colonies, but it literally could have been this place where all the lepers was at.
Like a refuge.
Kind of, yeah. They had cities of refuge, but it wasn't for that. But it was kind of like that because you got, like, in general, Samaritan wasn't hanging out with a regular Jewish person, Israelite. They didn't mess with each other like that. But these ones, obviously, they had a little bit of something in common. They was lepers.
It's just like the homeless encampments. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
You
I mean, I guess
all
it's not.
types.
Yeah, all type of people. You can get anybody there.
I mean, I guess.
They all got one thing in common.
Yeah. There you go.
Or a few.
A few things in common. And when I read this, and see, I don't know where you're going with this, but this is the most significant thing. This is even more significant than raising someone from the dead.
Is it? Wow.
Yes, it is.
Okay, why?
I'm waiting to see where you was going with it. Because this was what they said the Messiah was going to do. He was going to heal leprosy. The thing that nobody could do. Nobody could do that for anyone. Just
Nobody ever did it.
Somebody came with the cure for cancer. Said, I can heal cancer. Or you can have your cancer.
How many people was raising people from the dead?
I mean, it happened, but it wasn't like.
But I'm saying that, like, in the Torah, the only thing that could heal somebody from leprosy was the Most High. You couldn't go. When you went to the priest wasn't healing the person. It wasn't. All the priest was doing was bearing witness to what had already been done.
That you got to send them away, and then they had to be healed and come back.
They had to be healed, and then they would come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so it's interesting how he did it because the way he did it, it wasn't like he did something to them. He just told them to do something, but it's obvious that he healed them.
Well, because he came back before he even went to the priest, so it already had happened.
Yeah, as he was walking, he was like,
He was like, "Oh,
I'm gonna show you.
Yeah,
You the priest
they
now.
understood what was happening. They understood the weight of it. When you think about what is going on, yes, when you look at this as a thing that happened, the Most High healed leprosy. The people would go away and come back. They didn't do. The priest didn't give them no ointment or nothing. He said, "Go away for 7 days and come back, and then we'll look at your things and see if they look the same or not."
there wasn't any steroid or
Yeah,
shea butter.
no wash, no go
soap.
turn around 7 times, jump up and down, and then wash again. None of that. Go away,
Come back.
stay there, come back, and then I'll look at you. And so here, Yeshua, who obviously cleansed these people, he's doing this. Yes, he's doing this thing that only the Most High would do with time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Time healed
Yeah.
leprosy and the Most High. That's what happened. But here, Yeshua speaks this thing. Go. When he says to go to the priest, he essentially is healing you. Because you go to the priest, and when you get there, you'll be healed, right? But right as they were going, they were cleansed. And so, go ahead.
I was, since you were talking about, the people, they went to the priest said, well, go back and wait 7 days. So it had to be humility between the leopard to have time to, retrospect with the Most High. And the Most High knowing the person's heart, seeing that there's a change within themselves, he starts to heal them, like you said, within themselves. So, as you were saying about unification as a group, so how you got these Hebrews and then you got a Samaritan. Well, you said they had a common thing, they're leopard. So now, I was thinking, as Yeshua's on the scene and he's gathering members to be to re-enlist in God's favor. Now we're gathering people in an ideal thought, no matter what group they're from. But now they have a common. They all love the Most High.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from here and you're from there, that you love the Most High, you're a brother or sister in the faith.
That's right.
So I see that Yeshua is bringing people to come.
Yeah, he most definitely had something for each and every one of those people standing there, and it didn't have nothing to do with where they was from. It just had to do with the fact that they had a disease and they needed healing, and they was asking for mercy, and he gave it to them. He wasn't like, where you from?
Yeah, he didn't say that.
Like he wasn't trying to verify nothing to find out first before he didn't even ask nothing. He just they asked for compassion,
Yeah.
and he gave it to them.
Yeah.
I'm wondering,
That's
I
right.
don't know if you were about to hit on that about what Yeshua had said, how he was well, I can't say upset, I was there, but he did bring it up, that, where's the others? Is that symbolic to how Israel has always just went their own way, even after all the forgiveness, and then he allowed the Samaritan to, basically be healed and just proves to, that he's looking for all nations, like Brother said. That's what I'm wondering. Is this symbolic in some ways, or why was it brought up?
I think he was kind of offended. Like, I'm here to help the Israelites, but I'm also helping someone of another nation. But that's kind of wrong. Hold on, wait a minute. How would this stranger is the only one that's going to give me respect when I'm trying to get it from my own people, and they just go about their own business like, this
Yeah.
is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do it.
Can I read this again? Because I'm seeing something too on pitting on what y'all talking about. Going back to verse 14. Well, I'll start at 13, but I'm going through. And they lifted up their voices, saying, Yeshua, Master, have compassion on us. And having seen them, he said to them, go show yourselves to the priests. And it came to be, as they were going, they were cleansed. Verse 15. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, returned, praising Elohim in a loud voice. So, my thing is, like, what's the point of the dispensation of time? If it's a foreigner, what priest is he going to?
That's what I'm saying. You can go to the priest.
Like, at what point? And then it said, it says as they were going, he realized that he was healed, and so I'm all this to say is like, was the people who were Israel, were they going to the priest and then they were healed, and was like, okay, I'm still gonna go to that priest, but the other person that basically was their priest.
You should, yeah.
So it was like, I'm coming back to the priest
That's right.
because he said, go to the priest to show you healed.
Yeah. But so like the Samaritans, they had their own situation. They had their own situation that kind of mirrors what they was doing in Jerusalem. They were saying that their holy place was in their section that was different from where the people was at in Jerusalem. So everything that he potentially could have went to a Samaritan priest. I'm saying it says that he turned around and came right back. But I'm saying in theory there was a priest for him to go to that was another priest from where the apparently the other 9 went to. Because they had a situation that kind of mirrors what they was doing with Jerusalem, which was kind of the rift of the people, where they're doing this thing that's like unto what we're doing, but you worship a God that you know not of, like what Yeshua said. And so it's like, but in what Yeshua is saying, he don't make it be a distinction. He got one word for all of them. Go show yourselves to the priest. Because that's the thing that you did. Eventually, if you don't do it here, eventually it has to be done in order to even go around and not have to do the thing. Until you're officially recognized, like again, it goes back to this certain village that they was in, which I feel like it's like a castaway village. In order for them to be able to be accepted back into the society wherever they came from, they got to go through the procedures.
Why would the Samaritan even be there with those Israelites?
In this certain, well, where were they?
That's what I mean, in that certain village.
Yeah,
Why would
they was
Samaritan
all, because they that's what I'm saying. They have their version that mirrors what the Israelites was doing, and so none of them could be with the rest of the people.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like they were segregated even more now that we know that.
But they was segregated together, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It sounds like it is more of a segregation now that we really know that one of them wasn't.
Yeah. Right. And so all of them being healed, Yeshua says what he says and lets us know that one of them actually was a Samaritan, and then now he is saying to them about their faith, but the kind of the the thing that you see here is the fact that where he's getting ready to get into something else that's connected, but the idea that his people, they witnessed this thing that Yeshua has done. They witnessed this thing that Yeshua has done, which kind of puts him in the place of Messiah. I mean, the other things do it too, like he just raised Lazarus from the dead.
He is inside.
But this also does it. This thing that, and then it's almost like Yeshua takes himself out of your faith made you well. Rise and go. Your faith is what made you well. Right? It's almost like he's even humble in that part, right? He said, first of all, where the rest of y'all at? Nobody else don't got nothing to say. But now you're taking himself away. Your faith is what made you well. But the potential people who wasn't foreigners, they nowhere to be seen.
We free. We are able to go around people. Nobody's going to tell us to get away from them. Maybe even the Samaritan, when he lost the common denominator, they was like, we don't need you anymore. I actually, Elder One, thought that was interesting that you said that, because I asked ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT if the Samaritans could go to the temple in Jerusalem. I'm cracking up at myself. You used to be able to Google stuff, now you just ask the chat. But it said that the Samaritans were not generally allowed to worship in the temple in Jerusalem during the Second Temple period. And it says the hostility between the Jews and Samaritans had developed over the centuries, meant that Samaritans had their own place of worship in Mount Gerizim, rather than participating in the Jerusalem temple rituals.
Yeah. They would have had their own place to go, but the process would have been similar.
Yeah, it would have been similar.
Because they believed they had the Torah, just like the regular, regular Jews had the Torah. They just believed that they was doing it right, and then the other people wasn't doing it right.
Now, they're saying here that they only used the Pentateuch, the Torah. They didn't use the prophets. So it would have been harder for them to even believe in Yeshua if they didn't have, the Isaiah and the Jeremiah.
They didn't have a lot of the things, but they were still able to see it though. Even though, that's part of the thing that Yeshua says is that you read Moses, you read of me. You should have been able to see me from just reading Moses.
So when people try to say, what was the verse? What was the verse that they said was the gospel? I can't remember. It was Isaiah.
Isaiah
61.
Yeah.
61. Without that, you don't even need that for a gospel. That's, you know what I mean? Like the testimony and the witness of Yeshua is all that's really needed. Because these people, he needed something. He cried out and said, "Can you help me?" And Yeshua said, basically, "You're cleansed." And then that's enough for this Samaritan who doesn't even have the priests. The prophets to even believe in him being the Messiah.
Yeah.
He didn't need any verses.
Yeah, all he had was the testimony.
He just had the testimony.
Yeah.
I feel like the testimony of Yeshua is enough.
Well, it obviously is because you can see that. Well, when you think about Isaiah,
60.
no, Isaiah 53.
Oh, 53, which is he bears
Go to Isaiah 53, 52. What's the last verse of 52? That might be the first verse of 53.
First verse, 53.
53.
For or who has believed our report?
Oh yeah. First one. Yeah, read that verse.
Who has believed our report, and to whom was the arm of Yahweh revealed?
Oh wait, we do need the
52.
we do need 52.
52,
The last verse.
So 52:15. He likewise.
Is it 52 verse 13? Which one?
Oh, should I start at 13?
Is it which one? Go back.
Oh yeah, I wanna see 13 all the way through the first verse of the last of the
Okay.
next chapter.
Verse 13. See, my servant shall work wisely. He shall be exalted and lifted up and very high. As many were astonished to you, so the disfigurement beyond any man's, and his form beyond the sons of men. He shall likewise startle many nations. Sovereigns shut their mouths at him. For what had not been recounted to them, they shall see, and what they had not heard, they shall understand.
That's a verse right there. Can you read the King James version of that?
Yep.
That's the verse right there, 15.
15. Okay. So shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider.
Okay, very good. So, first of all, we talk about sprinkling many nations. The other version says startle many nations, but it's only talking about the fact that if somebody sprinkle you with some water, it's going to startle you. The idea is sprinkling. It's transferred as startled, like how we went to the one place and they came around with the holy water that startled me with the sprinkling. Got a little bit of water on my Bible. That's how you remember that. And so
The enemy knows about that. That style of.
so when you
we
get
got startled,
sprinkled,
we get startled.
when you get sprinkled, you are startled. So that's the only difference there. But the sprinkling has to do with the sacrifice and the cleansing, the sacrifice for and the cleansing of the nations. The kings will shut their mouths at him, and that which had not been told them shall they see.
That's right.
They gonna believe in this thing that they don't even understand it. And they don't have no connection to it.
Right.
When we talk about the prophets, and if you want to talk about the Samaritans who trust in the Torah and don't follow the prophets, and they don't understand the prophecies because they don't study or believe in the prophecies. But if you talk about these other nations that take it to another even extent beyond that, where they're believing in this thing and they don't have no connection to it, don't even understand why it is that Yeshua, what it means, what he did, why he's doing it, the true kind of purpose or understanding of it. They wasn't told about this thing, but still they able to see. And that which they had not heard, they're able to still consider, even though they got no connection to it, but they still able to believe in Yeshua. And so when we think about the Samaritans, it's not all the way to that extent, but to the people in Jerusalem, it is. The Samaritans are. To Israel, as Israel proper, Samaritans was foreigners, as it said right there. There are whole other people that don't even belong to, like that was just, they wasn't even like connected at all.
Yeah.
But from a prophetic standpoint, that's what's supposed to happen. These people who don't have no connection are going to understand everything perfectly. At least the things that matters, which is Yeshua. And so Yeshua is seeing all this when he looks, and he mentions it because it matters, but it's part of the prophecy though. his people ain't gonna act right, and these other people is gonna act right. But look at 20. Did we read 20 and 21? Read 20 and 21.
Oh, back in
Luke.
Okay. Oh, you got it there. And having been asked by the Pharisees when the reign of Elohim would come, he answered them and said, "The reign of Elohim does not come with intent watching, nor shall they say, 'Look here,' or 'Look there,' for look, the reign of Elohim is in your midst."
Okay, very good. So this is kind of moving into another realm, but it's the same kind of it's connected. Because the Pharisees now, they see Yeshua and they're asking him, when when will we see the kingdom? When will it come?
They're so lost. They're just
Very
lost.
lost.
Yeah. But what's the difference between what they're doing, the Pharisees here, and the other 9 lepers? Because what happened to them, they didn't recognize what happened to them so much that they never even came back.
Except for the Samaritan.
But the Samaritan, who he couldn't even hardly get away without acknowledging Yeshua. But the other ones never came back. Was no one else found that they was not able to return and give praise to Elohim? Like, why is Yeshua equating praising Elohim with returning back to him? Anyway,
Wait, that's deep.
I know.
Because
That's the point.
I know.
people who don't believe that Yeshua is Elohim.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I'm saying. He
Yeah.
came back.
I just want to skip over that.
You know what I'm saying? That's the point. He came back.
Why is he equating the two things? Like, they could have praised him over there, but he said, "Was not one found to return to give praise to Elohim except the foreigner."
That's
Yeah.
right. He came back.
Well, I mean, he knows everything, though. He would have kind of known what they were doing. Why did he even said it to that Samaritan, though?
Hmm?
Wonder why he even said it to the
I
Samaritan.
don't think it was saying it to the Samaritan. I think he was saying it to the ones around him. It was more like a look. This Samaritan came back. The other 9 didn't come back, but this one, because it goes back to the same dream. The sheep comes down. They were, he was saying, I can't eat with them. But he's saying, like, this foreigner who has more reverence for Elohim than my own people, they just ran to the priest. Did they keep running to the priest? I have no idea. Did the leprosy come back? Who knows? Because they didn't come back and give praise to Yahweh, saying,
That's
like,
right.
the foreigner had this reverence, like he stopped in his tracks after he was healed, and it was almost like the other 9 were just like, this should happen. We're the people. I mean, why wouldn't this happen to us? Almost like their egos were a little bit higher than this foreigner who was just like blown away that a Jew
Yeah.
would come to him and heal
Yeah.
him and have this reverence for Yahweh, saying like that Yahweh cares for him,
That's right.
where the Jews were saying that they're nobodies. They're just
Yeah.
homeless people. You want to put it that way.
Our people have this disrespect for them.
That's the whole thing. Because
Testing them.
how many times does Messiah use them in a parable? I mean, look at the Good Samaritan parable. He keeps using them, saying like there's something there that Yahweh's going. So I was under thinking about it. Just I think it was the reverence and the awe that the Samaritan had for Yahweh, actually cleansing some of his lineage, I guess, if you want to put it that way, of his filthiness. You could go into that. And he actually came back to praise Yahweh for,
Yeah.
thank you for healing me. Like, so there's a lot. I think there's a lot to
Okay.
that one thing and coming back, because we all think we're these filthy rags, these filthy riches that we don't, these things that we don't deserve, and you can see that he comes back for us all.
Yeah. And I think the thing here also that kind of combines the two things is kind of going into this other situation, but it's based in the same thing where this thing that happened that the people, the Israelites here, the 9 lepers experience this thing from Yeshua, and they don't come back to acknowledge what it is that Yeshua did. So it's almost like they don't acknowledge his messiahship.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the Pharisees, then right after that, and having been asked, this is in the same context of what's going on, having been asked by the Pharisees when the reign of Elohim would come. Meanwhile, Yeshua is sitting right there, literally asking the coming of the kingdom. When is the kingdom gonna come? And so he say,
So,
the kingdom of Elohim does not come with observation.
that's crazy.
It don't come with intent watching. Look at that. Let's look at that. Pull that up there. We'll see what that say there.
Which one? Observation.
Inspection. Ocular evidence. With your eyes. Look here. Look there. Meanwhile, the kingdom is in your midst. And so it's an interesting thing that we see over here, because when you think about this idea of Messiah, the kingdom of Elohim, people's belief in Messiah,
Is that oculars?
it's kind of a thing when you think about the kind of mainstream kind of Jewish kind of thought about Messiah. Because there's the Messiah, but there's also kind of this messianic era, which is kind of different, a different understanding than an actual Messiah,
You mean, you talking about the Olam Haba? The world to come?
the world to come, right? Where we talking about an era when things happen, but it's not necessarily focused on an individual per se. And so you have this thought where, you know, we're talking about this messianic era and not a Messiah, an individual. And so when you think about like this there, even in the question, when is the kingdom, when will it come? When will this messianic era begin? When will it come? But they're asking the Messiah, though, who is the kingdom. Because they don't have the proper understanding of the Messiah.
They're just like those lepers that never came back.
But what I'm saying is, first of all, yes, they're exactly like them. But this is kind of like a mainstream thought process where they're not connecting all of the dots. And then it's kind of like almost like a cultural kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's hard to do if you don't got
Where
that
they're-
spiritual aspect.
Yeah. So they're witnessing the kingdom, but because they're in their thought process, they're looking for an era and not an individual, they miss everything. Because even if they don't, even not thinking about it as an individual, you should be able to see that this is what goes on in the era.
Exactly.
Because this
They're gonna do
guy
what he do, like,
is
yeah.
ushering in. He must be ushering in something. He just rose somebody from the dead. He's healing people that's blind and deaf and crippled and lepers. Like he's doing all of the things. And so even if they can't recognize the guy, why can't they at least recognize the error? Not error, but the era, the time. Because there's messianic things happening all over the place. And so Yeshua is saying to them, this thing that you looking for, you're not going to see it with your eyes. I mean, because you don't see it with your eyes, because Yeshua's standing right there. Right? You're not going to see this thing with your eyes. But then, let's go down to 22.
And he said to the top ones, they shall come when you shall long to see one of the days of the son of Adam, but you shall not see it.
This is interesting. He's hitting all of these things because, first of all, his disciples, they could potentially fit into the same thought process a little bit, without, not fully, because they understand that he's the guy. But they also they may not necessarily have a full idea about what's going to happen coming soon. And he's saying to them, you guys, you got to take full advantage of me while I'm here. Because it's about to be a time when you're going to look around and I ain't going to be here.
They just operate in the flesh a lot. Seems not in the spiritual.
Yeah. He's telling them, even though they're experiencing the kingdom, that they need to understand that there's going to be a time when, and it's interesting the terminology that they're using, the son of Adam. It said you'll long to see one of the days of the son of Adam, but you won't see it. And he's saying it in this way because, again, the Son of Man is kind of a messianic thing, but it causes you to think about an individual. The thing that they largely, from a cultural standpoint, don't think about. Because they're looking at this era. But when we see some of these prophetic verses, when we think about the Son of Man, it helps us to understand that it is an individual that's also Messiah. Mm-hmm. And so he's emphasizing the human side of the Messiah and letting them know that this human side of the Messiah, you're going to long for the days that you're able to reach out and touch me as a man, because what's about to happen is about to be something that's going to blow your mind. But he's preparing them for this thing. He tells his disciples this.
But they don't understand.
No, they don't understand. They don't understand. But nobody really understands, right? But it's interesting that he's kind of pointing them. But this is the whole thing. Like, it begins with the lepers, where they should know, they should behave in a particular way, but they don't. His disciples, in being with him for so long, they should know, and he says, you're gonna long for these days right here, because soon you're gonna look around and I'm not gonna be here in the flesh. He's gonna be able to be with them in another way, but in the flesh, he's not gonna be there. There's gonna be something different. But again, the kingdom is not, it don't come with observation. It's not necessarily about this physical thing. Because a big thing was the physical aspect of it. The king and the taking over the oppressor and the reign and the rule and revenge.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the thing, but the people was looking more for that instead of the other parts.
Yeah, that's deep too. Because even say Yeshua came back, or he was during his time, and then he established the kingdom now, like as he was alive. The people's hearts still wouldn't have been ready for the kingdom. I'm just thinking like in terms of events, like even looking at this here, he dies, he rises, and then history in between that up until today, and how he had to send his spirit back, and then how the people even gotta be ready for today, or how the book talk about it. So just
Yeah, and it's like it's it's all this time where the people that the Most High is seeking to be gathered in is all of this time for all of this stuff to be fulfilled, and it still isn't fulfilled.
So were they looking for a David, King David? Is that what they were looking
Some people,
Yeah.
some people was. Some people literally looking for David, like literal David.
what was that? Peter was like, let's take these Romans down, like let's get the you know what I mean?
And so you have these different. The thing is, when you look at the prophecies of Messiah, the Messiah, the guy, the individual, there's so many different aspects to it. There's so many different aspects. Look at Isaiah 9 and 6 and 7.
What?
6 and 7.
Isaiah
No,
chapter,
Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7.
Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For a child is born unto us, a son is given unto us, and the rule is on his shoulder, and his name is called Wonder, Counselor, Strong El, Father of Continuity, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his rule and peace there is no end upon the throne of David and over his reign, to establish it and sustain it with right ruling and with righteousness from now on, even forever. The order of Yahweh of hosts does this.
Okay, so when you think about even these verses here, you see, it seems like you see an individual first of all, but there's government involved. Right? There's government involved where this individual who will then sit on his throne, but he's going to rule and he's going to establish judgment, and he's going to do it with justice. And so in order for this to happen, there got to be a removal of the things that's going on. And so they had that understanding to know that if the one thing is true, the other, the status quo got to be changed in order for this thing to even happen. And so, like when you look in like Acts, whenever at the beginning of Acts, whenever they're talking about the kingdom, they're literally looking at that time for revolution to happen just right now, because there's different things that are connected with the Messiah. And so Yeshua, when he walks the earth, he fulfills a lot of the things, but he don't fulfill all of the things. And so, because he hasn't fulfilled all of the things. And so when you think about the expectation is for all of the things that happen all at once.
Yeah.
Where it's not going to all happen all at once, obviously. And so he makes the point, Yeshua does, is that it's not for observation. It's not something that you're going to actually see with your eyes. You're not going to be able to see the things happening and be like, oh, this is it. You're going to look around and then it's going to be there. Because look at here, let's go back to Luke 17, read 23 through 25.
It says, and they shall say to you, look here or look there. Do not go after them nor follow. For as the lightning that flashes out of one part under the heaven shines to the other part under the heaven, so also the Son of Adam shall be in his day. But first, he has to suffer much and be rejected by this generation.
This generation going to reject him. The current generation, the generation that was there with him, is going to reject him, just like those 9 lepers did. They rejected him. They took what he gave them, but they never came back and said thank you, which is rejection. But it was a picture of the people. The people looked at them, the Pharisees, those was the representatives of the people. They saw what he did, and they looked at that as a threat. You mean this man sitting up here raising people from the dead? Like, he's dangerous for us. He hurts our power structure.
Mm-hmm.
We got to kill this guy. That's what they was like. And so, but they rejected him because he's the Messiah. He's the Messiah. And so he's saying over here, these people gonna sit up here and be like, this is what the Messiah coming back is gonna look for. Let's look for this, let's look for that. But he said when it happens, it's gonna be like lightning flashing out. Nobody got to tell you when lightning strikes. You see it, it's right there.
Like Revelation, all eyes will see. Everybody. It ain't gonna be a question.
No.
It's
People could talk about all day and all night, when he's gonna come and all of these things. He said it's gonna be like lightning flashing. And nobody gotta tell you. Messiah came. Did y'all know that Messiah came? I seen it on the internet the other day. Messiah came. He's over there in Timbuktu over there. Healing people. He came. No, he ain't. Don't go after them. Don't follow them. Don't look over there. Because when he comes, it's going to be just like some lightning that struck you. You know that it happened. Like, it's not going to be a question. Nobody's going to have to say, did y'all see that one video that's trending right now of the Messiah that he came back? Y'all know that? That ain't him. That's not him. Because when he come, you going to know that he come. That's what he's saying right here.
Yep.
Them people sitting up there talking about, when is the kingdom of Elohim? He came. He's sitting there looking at you. But they don't see it because they're looking for their eyes, and there's a spirit. The Torah is spiritual. He's the Torah walking.
Yeah, he's living it.
I have a strange question. Is this something about life? So, when Yahshua gets persecuted by the Pharisees, he goes to Pilate, and then there's a point where they give the people the option. Who do you want to save? And I was thinking to myself of a time of when Israel wanted a king. And God said, well, I give you my prophet. I said, well, if you don't believe my prophet, then you don't believe in me. So he said, okay, I know how this is going to roll. I'm going to give you what you want. So they give him Saul, King Saul. But God knew that King Saul eventually he's going to fade out. He's not the right one. So I was thinking to myself, what happens with Yahshua, the same choice, but here they have Barabbas. Barabbas is what they want. Someone who's radical, is what hopefully he'll free them from the Romans and all that, but you have the Messiah. He's going to free you in a different way, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
So then they persecute him. He gets put on the cross, and eventually, when he dies, then they realize, oh shoot, he was with me the whole time.
Because you looking for the wrong thing.
Right, wrong thing.
You looking for what's happening in the carnality, in the physical realm,
Flesh.
which is a thing, and it matters. But the most important thing is the internal thing. If you're not changed on the inside, it don't matter what happens on the outside.
Right.
And so, what Yeshua is bringing to the situation is that spiritual renewal. If you won't see the kingdom of Elohim unless you're born from above, unless you're spiritually renewed. The thing that you're looking for is the kingdom is not of observation. What did it say? It's not of ocular evidence.
Yep. It's interesting. I don't know where I heard it in some video. Somebody was talking this something I was researching this week, and it was like a few wealthy people. It was this rich man, and the guy asked him. He was like, "If you was to start over to get back in your position where you were," he's like, "What's the most important thing?" Like, or he's like, "What do you think? Like, is the most important thing to your success or anything?" He's like, "One thing I see with people is they try to be rich, like physically, without understanding like to be rich, you have to start in your mind." He's like, "There's a rich mind and a poor mind."
You
Like,
must have heard that.
like if
You heard it too.
y'all heard it too.
No, I didn't hear it, but I heard the logic because he said, Moray said, what you said? I have a poor mind.
You just pouring your mouth.
Yeah, poor mind is just that's like the feats, the richness that could come out if your mind is poor. You gotta have a rich mind. You gotta know things is possible. You gotta, because you can have nothing.
Man, George
most
Clinton
I can do
already
it.
told us, man. You have to free your mind so that your behind can follow.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So,
This thing that Yeshua is getting these people to understand, they're looking for something, and the thing is already going on because it's spiritual. It's spiritually got to happen first before anything else.
yep.
Like you, and I'm saying that you know it because when we looked at that book that you was looking at, where the guy was talking about the pedagogy of the oppressed, he talked about this thing that he didn't even. He was like Portuguese or something, Spanish, and spoke Portuguese, and he didn't even want to translate the word. He wanted to just leave it in Portuguese. Conscientious is out. Conscientious is out. You can't be freed from the oppressor till you is freed inside of yourself. You have to be able to come to a certain understanding about your own self before you can even be free.
I have some.
Go ahead.
I was thinking about what brother said about that time that they were happening, that was happening about give us Barabbas. I just see them being so like what you're talking about, like oppressed, like because they was like they didn't even care, and we hear that today when people are like, well, what if there is a God? He said, well, people be like, I'm going to hell anyway, so so that's what I hear them saying. They're like, the blood will be on our children. Like they literally ask for the blood on their children in a generation form. I just find that such a baffling thing that they were willing to take the risk, and to just see that today. So many people are like already putting themselves in hell.
Yeah.
They're like, well, that's just where I'm going.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's just crazy. So they're putting the blood on. It's just still happening. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, but it all goes back to this idea of what they can see.
Yep.
Of what they can see. Yeshua, he did some amazing, wonderful things. but he wasn't like radical though. I'm saying like he wasn't like Black Panthers. Like he was kind of like he wasn't like Malcolm X. Like he was kind of like
Martin Luther King.
He
yeah,
wasn't that. He wasn't that soft.
Nah, he was more Martin
I was
Luther
saying he wasn't
King.
radical though. He
He
wasn't
would have been.
radical.
He would have. Yeah.
He was radical in his doctrines, I guess, against the status quo.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like militant, like go get your guns kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah. Let's go fight and.
And so what they was looking for was go get your guns. That's what they was looking for. But when Yeshua comes on the scene, he was turning the thought process upside down, but he wasn't disrupting governments
Right.
and turning that upside down.
One
Let
time
them
for
people
that.
do what they want. Here, they want some money here. You get this fish right here. Let me
Right.
pull this rabbit out of my hat. Here, take this.
This what you want?
Yeah.
Give him what.
Right? He gave them what they wanted, right? But from an ideological standpoint, he was disrupting that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like militant about it. Like let's run and ransack Pilate and them. Like he wasn't doing that.
Did they like the rough side of him when he went into the temple and
They probably.
they never had defiled the temple?
I'm saying I would say that there was probably people who looked at that and probably start following as a result of that.
They're like, oh, he's
Because
serious.
they was carnal. But as soon as he said, eat my blood and eat my flesh and drink my blood, them same people probably rolled out.
You know what?
Because it's carnal. Because they're looking for something with their eyes, and he's saying it ain't about that.
Or they could have thought it was against Torah.
Yeah, what you gonna sit up there and call me to break the Torah and drink blood and eat flesh? Crazy. Because they're not looking at the things properly. Okay, I want to just drop down. I'm gonna finish up here. Let's finish reading this. Where we read down to? 25. Pick up at 26 and just read to the end.
Okay. And it came to be in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the days of the son of Adam. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were given in marriage, until the day of Noah went into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. And likewise, as it came to be in the days of Lot, they were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, and they were planting, and they were building. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. It shall be the same in the day the son of Adam is revealed. In that day, he who shall be on the housetop and his goods in the house, let him not come down to take them away. And likewise, the one who is in the field, let him not turn back. Remember the wife of Lot. Whoever seeks to save his life shall lose it, and whoever loses his life shall preserve it. I say to you, in that night there shall be two in one bed, and one shall be taken, and the other one left. Shall be left. Two women shall be grinded together. The one shall be taken, and the other one shall be left. Two shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other one shall be left. And they answering said to him, Where, master? And he said to them, Where the body is, there also the vultures shall be gathered together.
Okay, very good. So there's two things I want to there's a lot here. I just want to focus on the last verse, 37, and then and also 33. Start with 33, I guess. Whosoever seeks to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever loses his life shall preserve it. And so it's interesting that when you think about this over here, whosoever shall save his life shall lose it. And then before that, he started talking about if, you know, talking about Lot's wife. They leaving out of judgment, and she's thinking about what's back where she left. In that day, he shall be on the housetop, and his goods will be in the house. And then it's time for him to go, and he's trying to get back in the house to get his stuff before he get taken up in the rapture.
Why are you? Why you go there? Why'd you go there?
I don't know. I couldn't help myself. but it's the end, and he's worrying about the stuff that's in the flesh. He's looking back at his life.
Yes.
He's looking back at the things that's in his life. And I'm saying that there's quotation marks around that life, dude. Whosoever shall lose his quotation mark life shall lose it. Because you trying to save your life that you know about life. The things that you consider to be what life is in carnality in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And look at some of these other things that he mentions. You know, you going around, you buying, and you selling, and you planting. There's nothing wrong with these things, and eating and drinking. This is your life. You're building. These are the things that you do in life. So when you're trying to save all of that stuff, you lose it. Whoever seeks to save his quote unquote life, you want to try to save that, you lose it. Because that's not what it's about anyway. But whoever preserves his life, it says, whoever loses his life shall preserve it. So I'm saying that life right there is also the quote unquote life. If you lose these carnal things and not be carnally minded and thinking about all these things that's going on, buying and selling and marrying and drinking and eating and building and planting, your life, the things that's in this world. Because why is he talking about preserving that? Because he don't want to preserve that necessarily. He wants to preserve your life. Mm-hmm. Because he is life. Yeshua is life. And so he don't want for you to, he's not trying to preserve your quote unquote life. He's trying to preserve your life and give you actual life. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting in 33 where he says this, he's saying what he's saying, but I feel like he's talking about two different lives. Mm-hmm. And he is, because in 33, when he gets to the end, the thing that you preserve, he don't even say life. He just say it. Whoever seeks to save his life shall lose it. Whoever loses his life shall preserve it. But he's not going to preserve these carnal things. He's going to preserve that which is everlasting, which is your actual being. And then he's saying for you not to be like Lot's wife, not to be like the people who was in the time of Noah, who was going on with life and doing all these things. Meanwhile, Noah's making the boat. And them people had to see Noah making the boat. And they had to be like, Noah, man, what you doing with that boat over there?
Mm-hmm. Water.
And what you gonna do with that boat? But nobody cared though. I feel like the Most High told Noah who was getting on the boat. But I feel like if somebody really wanted to be on the boat, they would have asked him to be on it. But nobody cared because everybody was wicked. It say everybody was wicked. That's why they ended up dying.
They're preserving their life. They're doing. We see that today. Someone will knock you over. You're right there.
Yeah.
I feel like we can't even think that there was everybody was righteous. I mean, everybody was wicked. Noah was righteous. We can't think that there was some righteous people that died over there. They was all wicked, and that's why nobody else was on the boat. But that's the point, though. They're living their life in wickedness and enjoying it, and Yeshua's over here saying, "You're gonna lose your life. You're gonna lose your life."
Yeah. That's why, I mean, I've heard at least one person say to me that I'm living to die, essentially. Like, you know, like basically you living a righteous existence or whatever. It's like you're living to die instead of living to just live. Like,
Live to live
enjoy
again.
your life now and do whatever you want to do and have a
You
good
gotta
time.
live to live again.
That's why.
Oh yeah, Kakat Smothers. Living to live again.
That's how I take it too. I'm like, we ain't living yet.
Exactly.
No, this ain't it.
Not till the king come. We ain't living yet.
Yeah.
You trying to punch a ticket to live. You know what I mean?
But Yeshua at the end, where he say, then where he say, and they answered him, where, master? And Yeshua said this weird thing. Where the body is, there is also vultures. The vultures shall gather together. But vultures, they eat dead things.
That a clue?
They carry on.
They eat dead things. Vultures do. And so the vultures is coming and getting the people who try to preserve their life. This is interesting when you think about this, how Yeshua talks about this whole thing about the two people, two women grinding together. One is taken, the other one's left. Two shall be in the field. One's taken, the other one's left. And then talking about this body that's there, and the vultures come to gather it up. But the vultures come and get the dead things. When the reaper come and get the wheat. I mean the tares out and leave the wheat there.
You don't want to be taken.
The wheat is there. That's what you want. You going in there, you pulling out them weeds.
You ain't gonna coming to get
The vultures is coming for the dead bodies that's standing right next to you, but they ain't dead. But they is dead because they don't got life.
So you not trying to put this with the quote unquote rapture?
Nah, I just was playing.
No, I'm saying that the rapture.
Oh, the rapture taking up the dead.
Take up the
Maybe it is a rapture, but
No,
the
I'm
people
saying-
that's going, they ain't going to the
That's what
right
I'm
place.
saying. I'm saying that the normal is the. Yeah.
They going to the wrong place because this right here, where the body is, that's where the vultures is coming, and they gathering up the bodies. But the vultures, they take dead bodies. So the two women standing there, they sitting there living their life, and one get taken. Well, where's the one that getting taken to?
You ain't gonna vote.
He going with the vultures. That's the dead one. I mean, the kingdom coming down. That's what it said, kingdom coming down. And so, you know, we looking for something when Yeshua said the thing that we supposed to be looking for is just gonna be completely evident and obvious. If we look at something with our eyes, we're gonna see the wrong thing. We're gonna see the wrong thing every time. And so it's interesting when we look, just closing down. It's interesting when we look at this. What?
Somewhere it's up.
Oh,
I live
good.
in Salisbury.
Oh, sorry. Well, when we were reading, I had an aha moment.
Go ahead.
And I looked at it from 33 on down as referring to the scriptures before about when Yeshua healed the 10 lepers and one came back. So I took that verse along with the two departed. So one believe and one don't believe. one's open-minded and the other isn't, the vultures are going to consume those that don't believe, and the ones that believe will enter in the kingdom. That's what I took it as.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the part I look at about Noah's time and Lot's time, I look at it as time frame. Kind of scary though, because I think about our own time frame, because it kind of seems like that.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people were lost in this time frame?
Yeah.
And time is getting short.
Yeah. And but the thing that you think about is the similarities between the two things.
Two things, yeah.
Like in both Noah and Lot's situation, all of the people are just worrying about their earthly pleasures.
Right. And with Lot, when the angels came and the angels told Lot to get your family out, Lot went to go get his other two kids, his daughters and his son-in-laws, but they were just living it up. They didn't believe him, so he left. They got burnt out.
Yeah, and right, and so the thing that binds all of this stuff together is the fact that we have to be kingdom-minded. We have to be kingdom-minded because, and then we won't be looking for the kingdom. Because we're going to see the kingdom because you're in the kingdom, because you in relationship with Messiah, with Yeshua. He does things for you, in you, through you, right in front of you, for you to notice and accept and believe.
But you got to believe in Yeshua.
But you got to believe.
Your belief made you whole.
That's what he said. Your faith made you whole.
And that's where come the peace too. You get a peace that's what surpasses
All understanding.
man.
And so when we live in this world and there's all these things going on in our quote unquote life, man, there's so much stuff going on in this world today. I don't know what them people doing out there. Because it don't affect my everyday. Like it might have some kind of residual effects on me, but I don't feel it.
Can't get the organic eggs anymore.
I mean, the 2 weeks ago, organic was less than the regular
Right.
at Aldi. You know what I'm saying? I was living it up. The organic was less than the regular.
Wait, it went back?
They went back up.
I
Yeah.
had one up.
But that other week though, I was like, oh, I'm getting two cartons of eggs. I don't care what's going on, man, because regardless of that, I still gotta do the same way. I gotta be kingdom minded. I gotta be doing things for the kingdom, and that's the only thing I can worry about. And then if it's harder for me to do things for the kingdom, okay, that's not gonna change the fact that if I'm gonna do it or not. I still got to do it because I can't sit up here and look with my eyes and the things I see with my eyes, that be the thing that dictate my life and my world.
Yeah.
I got to look to Messiah, and I got to look to the things that he will have for me to be doing and do that. Because if I'm looking for something, this image that I could come up with in my mind is always going to be wrong. Because these people, they knew the scripture, they had it memorized. They didn't have no book. We got a book that we sit there and, we could go to the book. But they wasn't carrying no books around with them. Like, you had to really be like something to actually have a scroll. Like, otherwise you was going to the place and then they had one there. And so any scripture that they had to have, they had it in them. Memorized it, right? And so them people knew what the Bible said, and they still wasn't able to see because they was looking through their eyes. And so he's saying that it's not about that. You need to be able to have this spiritual understanding, the thing that he's bringing. And so we have to be able to look and see Messiah and, benefit from the spiritual thing so that we're able to better see what's going on in the flesh through the spirit. All right. Does anybody have any last questions? Comments? All right. So that being said, we're gonna be done for now. Y'all willing, we'll be back on next week. Don't forget on Wednesday we'll have our midweek Torah study. But for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.